Hey, what's up everyone, it's your girl Genesis, and in today's video I will be briefly talking about the Natasha Denona bronze palette, since of course I am the last one to ever upload their review video, and that was not on purpose. I was trying to give it as much time as I could to see how exactly I feel about it before I come on camera and to let you know how I feel. So practically this is not my first ever Natasha Denona purchase. I had purchased her Metropolis palette, which cost $129. To summarize the whole experience with my first palette, it was horrible. For me, the blendability and the durability, the color scheme, everything was not worth the $129. That was practically my first ever splurge purchase or luxury purchase. I'm one of those people that don't believe in giving more than $50 for a palette. If you hear somebody in the background, oh my god, I'm sorry, those are my neighbors. But I won't count that purchase as my first ever purchase, because I did ended up returning the palette because I did not like it at all. I was very skeptical at first when I first got this palette because of how bad my experience with the first palette that I ever bought from her was. I was very skeptical, but because of the price point of this one, I was like, fuck it. First thing first, I gotta say that this palette reminds me a lot to the Soft Glam palette. For some reason, even though the Soft Glam palette is not a bronze palette all the way, you do get a little rosy shades, you know, Soft Glam shades that you use on your day-to-day basis. And also you don't get as many shimmer. Well, you get shimmers, but the shimmers are not like on this palette. I actually enjoy more the ones on this palette than the shadows on the Soft Glam palette by Anastasia Beverly Hills. But the point is that for some reason these two palettes remind me of each other a lot. I was very impressed with the blendability of the shadows. I did not experience this with my first purchase by Natasha Denona. My first purchase was or my Metropolis palette was not, it was chalky, it was dry, the formula was dry, it was chalky, it was hard to work with. With this one, it's a very different experience. With this one, the shadows are so soft that they actually blow out. They literally, you don't have to work with them so much to blend them out and blow them out in your crease, especially the crease colors. The shimmers are to die for, and if you have been watching my videos, you know that I actually like shimmery. What if you're gonna give me shimmery shadows, give me ultra dimensional shimmer shadows, if you know what I mean. I just made up that word, but that's basically what I mean by, if you're gonna give me shimmer shadows, give me so much pigment and so much glowiness that I don't know how to explain it. Just give me shimmer, just give me glow, give me all that stuff, you know what I mean? And this one does, so I'm very happy with it. The price, even though it's not expensive as her other palettes, is pretty up there. It's not actually affordable, but it's not as expensive, if you know what I mean. It's in between. And I'm actually shocked that a palette that it's supposed to be in between your or is the lowest of cost of your brand, and it works better than the ones that are more expensive. The packaging feels very nice and luxurious. I actually felt very bougie when I first got this palette. When I first opened it, of course, right now it's a mess because I've been using it since it launched. So yeah, I like that the mirror is actually big, and I can see, if I put it from afar, I can see my whole face on it. And it's a very functional mirror. It's a very high quality mirror, and I'm actually very glad that it stands like this and it doesn't, you know, it's not flingy. The packaging is not flingy. I love the bronze and on the outside. The shadows are amazing. They do give you a little bit of a kickback when you first dipped your brush into them, but it's nothing crazy. Like it's not such a kickback that you will lose shadows. Another thing that I really appreciate is that for the cost you actually get a good amount of shadow per pen. I'm really happy that she does give us a decent amount of shadows for, you know, pan. I feel like there is a decent ratio between the mattes and the shimmers. I think that is awesome. The only complaint that I have, shadows are so soft that I'm actually pretty uncomfortable to use a deep dye. Deep dye is like is a very unique shade in my opinion. It's not brown, it's not black, but it's a deep shade. I just wouldn't know how to describe it. It's like a brown with a, I would say, a deep eggplant shadow. Right here is not actually, you know, dark brown or black. It has a little bit of a tint to it. And my only issue is that it's so soft that it reminds me, actually, I don't know, it tricks my brain into thinking that I'm using a satin shade instead of a whole matte shade. Also, when I first swatched that shade, it had, or to me, it gave me the impression that it has some shimmer into it. I don't see the shimmer anymore, so, you know, I mean, I was a little, like, I was a little tricked. Like, I'm like, are you a satin or are you not? Because you feel like a satin, but you don't look like a satin, you know. It looks, it's actually matte, but it's just that softness of the shadow, it just tricks me. It just makes me think that I'm using a satin. And sometimes I don't want to have that effect in my looks. I just, because if you know, if you use a satin, your eye look might turn into a smoky eye, and sometimes you don't want that effect. You just want to deepen up your crease. It's just, it tricks me. It's a little bit tricky. That's the only complaint that I have about this palette. I also wish that she would have incorporated, like, I understand the whole, like I said before, the whole bronzy and summer and glowy theme, but I would have loved to see, a yellow tone cream shade in this palette. One, for my brow bone. Two, for if I don't feel like being bronzy and glowy. If I don't feel like doing all that, I could just use that and go for a whole matte look. You know what I mean? So I would have wished she would have incorporated that, or at least a lighter transition shade that we could use in our lid if we do want to go, instead of, you know, fully bronze, we could go fully matte. I'm one of those people that do not care exactly like what season we are in. If I want to have, if I want to create a look and I want to look a certain way, I will go for that look. However, it would have been nice to have a little bit more diversity in this palette, so that we can, you know, take it from one season to the other without having to incorporate other palettes to do that. There is no smell, no malfunction with the packaging. Palette is pretty compact and easy to travel with. I had traveled with this before, and I have dropped this before, and it hasn't, you know, shattered all over the place, even though when I dropped it, it was in a carpet room. I believe that I didn't mention the cost of the palette. The palette was $65, and unfortunately I had a $15 discount, so I paid pretty much $54 for this. Actually $4 over what I will actually pay for a palette, and that's the reason why I didn't create this video before, because I actually wanted to give the palette some time for me to decide if I actually liked the palette, and I was not making excuses just because the palette is at a decent price point. NATASHA DENONA has different prices for different palettes. I unfortunately did not had that much of a luck with her $129 palette. However, just because I've been having fun with this palette, I'm willing to give her other palettes a try, especially that whole matte Viva, I think it's called. the whole matte Viva palette, that palette is calling my name. However, I'm gonna give it a little bit of time, and I'm actually going to take some time to read through the reviews. At Sephora, I tend not to read the reviews. I just go ahead and purchase something. Even if I don't like it, I just don't like it, return it, or I don't know, just leave it there for reference, so that I can remember what a crappy product that was, and I can remember what a crappy product is, so that I can, you know, actually give praises to the ones that deserve to be praised. Well, I'm going to stop the review right here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and listening to what I had to say about the Natasha Denona bronze palette. Leave me a comment down below letting me know what other palettes or what other products from her line you enjoy, so that I can see if I'm willing to pick up anything from her line. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel for more content, and I will see you on the next one.